Let's go. Good morning. Welcome back to the pad. Matt Kim and a super special guest today. We have Diamond Dallas Page in the house. Welcome.
Hey, bro. Good to be here. We're Georgia boys.
So Diamond Dallas Page is quick recap of history. Bartender to WWE to late night shows and Hollywood squares. Right? To the WWE Hall of Fame through various injuries and recoveries. And then I saw you on Joe Rogan. I saw you on Patrick Bet-David. I saw you on Shark Tank. And then you have your own movie. You have your DDPYoga. You have your tech fitness venture in Power Cuffs. How the hell do you do all of these things?
Well, a lot of people think it's me, and it is, but it's me and my team, and my team's amazing. My business partner, Steve Yu, I often say that, Keith Richards would be really successful by himself, and so would Mick Jagger. But together, they're the Rolling Stones. And when me and Steve got together, I'm like Captain Kirk, and he's more like Spock, And we just jived, and we like this cat, came out of Cornell, and top in his class, was recruited by IBM, and 7 years into it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to inspire people. And while he was filming his first movie, self-taught, on everything, he saw me at LaGuardia Airport. He walked up, and he knew me from wrestling, and he said, "Hey, DDP." He's like, "Loved your work, man. It was really good." He goes, "But I really dig what you're doing now." Now this is 20 years ago, and I was like, "How do you know about what I'm doing now?" He goes, "I've seen some of the people you've been helping." And when it happened, I didn't start wrestling until I was 35. My career didn't take off until I was 40. And I'm talking about the back end of 40, like almost 41. And because of that, starting so late, it was the hardest thing you could ever do because, man, I can't tell you how many times, Matt, that my body hit that mat in the beginning. I thought, man, this fake stuff hurts like hell, So I was starting to figure out you can't fake gravity like in a big way. And I started figuring out ways to constantly rehab my body. And now I'm a whole different universe with it. But back then, it was just icing your body and starting to eat cleaner and just not drinking as much, whatever it took. And so it became a part of me and the work ethic of starting. Because when you start at 35, I mean, I had friends literally fall down laughing in my face. Because wrestling it's like it's an art form. Think of it as like ballet, like really physical, brutal ballet, and the bottom line is we all get injured and work hurt all the time. Because if you're involved in a big angle, that's going on, that's generating a main event of a pay-per-view, and you get injured and you're out, well, that just really screwed up everything that was going on that they're promoting for this main event. Kind of happens in UFC all the time as well. Guys who are main event guys all of a sudden get pulled last minute because they tore their rotator cuff. And a lot of guys will still go. And the guys that still go and still fight over those periods or still wrestle, they become permanently injured.
Yeah.
Like you can't. And I've always known, been a person who thinks like, okay, if I do this and this and this, how is that going to make me feel? Whether it's mentally or physically. And for mentally, I'm constantly asking myself, how does that make me feel about me? And that's how I make that decision.
So, I mean, I remember growing up and I watched you wrestle. And when I was young, there was always this argument, especially when you were a child. You always have the fight with your friends. wrestling is real. No, it's fake. No, it's real. No, it's fake. And we used to, it was probably at that time in my life, it was probably the most polarizing thing in our lives. And I was always on the side of, it's fake. I can't watch it because I've always been the guy that questions narratives, questions everything around me. And I was like, I can't watch it. It's fake. And you're telling me it's real. And I had this in me.
Right.
And they've promoted that. They never said it, but they made it seem like it was real.
Right. Well, you have to understand that wrestling is the first reality show.
Yeah.
Before anything, before real TV, that MTV thing that they did, way before that. Because what they do is they take real life experiences that are happening to these people, and then they work them into the storyline. And say two guys like, at one point, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, they hated each other at one point back then.
They really did.
They really did. And they used it and put it into the angle. And then they were businessmen. And then at the end, it got kind of crazy because then they called it the big Montreal screw job where Shawn put Bret in his finish. And they went, he tapped, and took the belt away because Bret was going to leave the WWF and come to WCW, which was owned by Ted Turner. So it was a really big deal. And, then they ended up hating each other, I'm sure, for a while. And then time goes by, as we call ourselves the boys, and then there's the girls, it's like the boys, we're a family. We're functional, very dysfunctional family that, lets a lot of that go over a period of time. And as you get older, hopefully you don't carry too many grudges. I never do. I never, because I came from a broken family, bounced around like a pinball. And, I realized that if I was going to hold the anger that I'd watch other kids hold for their parents, a lot of kids hate their parents,
Yeah.
And that's not the way it's supposed to be, Their parents are going, they're just regular people and they're going to make really bad decisions as well. So I learned at a very early age, man, that life, and I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but I learned that life was 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. And later I would hear that quote and then I would go, oh, that's what it was.
That's what it meant.
Yeah, that's really what it meant. And then I heard another quote that holding on to any kind of anger or really that hatred is like you swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly what that is. So I didn't judge my parents like that. I didn't until much later, till we were adults. And then there's times where I would judge them because, I'm telling you, Pop, if you don't do this now, I'm not going to be there later. So, flipped around. And again, I think if we don't learn from our mistakes or our journey, a lot of people like to hold on to what my father did to me, what my mother did to me.
Yeah.
It's so you are doing yourself such a disservice.
It's so hard to let go, though. No,
it isn't. No, it isn't. If you say it's so hard to let go, you're right. You're right. I always say, if you say you can and you say you can't, you're right. That was said by Henry Ford originally, but what the hell did he ever do? I mean,
yeah.
And forget not the Model T. He invented the assembly line, which literally it changed. And it might not have been him. It may have been one of his people because, that cat, had a 6th grade education, but he was a genius and he knew how to put things together. And he was also a hellion and a racist and everything else. So I don't have a lot of love for him, but that one quote was powerful because if you say it's so hard, though, you're right. You see, I'm all about the story you tell yourself. I do a lot of speaking and I've been talking to kids and adults in corporate world for decades now and really tuned it up over these last few years because I like to go out and do them. Because when you're preparing for what I call talk, repetition, I'm going to be working on different things that I've seen in my life that I'm going to use in that. And then how can I teach you to be a better human being if you want to be, or smarter, or have a better relationship? When I'm getting ready to do that and the reps, that's a story I'm telling myself. My favorite quote ever, and see, this is something I always close out my speaking gigs with. My favorite quote ever is the repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Now, when I first read that, I was on Brainy Quote, right? And I saw who said it, and I was like, oh my God, I know his affirmation. Like, what would be the odds of that? You know, so I'm not going to tell you who said it because you don't know who said that, right?
No.
But I'm going to tell you what he said, and then maybe you know it too. This is what he used to say all the time. I am the greatest. I'm the greatest of all time. Who is that?
Muhammad Ali.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Yeah.
Because he'd been saying it since he was a kid.
And he believed it.
And he believed it.
Yeah.
And then I throw up on the screen Time magazine with that one when he had the punch, the right arm out, left hand back, and just looking so pretty. And he has right next to him the greatest. And then in little letters, Muhammad Ali and the date, you know, from that year to that year. And I loved Ali. I mean, I've got to.
Yeah.
Oh God, he you know, I'm going to be 68 in another 3 months.
Wow.
And I grew up like with all that controversy that was Muhammad Ali. And knowing now back and knowing the stories, because I've read everything and seen everything that you can see on him, he stole the whole bit from Gorgeous George, the wrestler, because Gorgeous George was there to piss people off. He wasn't there to make people happy and clap. He was there to piss them off. Gorgeous George, back in the 40s and 50s, got 25% of the gate. Not net, gate. That cat really had, and he created this thing. Well, wrestling back then, it was real to people.
Yeah.
And that question was, no, it's not. You know what I mean? But those guys back then, a lot of them were shooters. So they could take you and twist you up like a, you know, like a rag doll. And Gorgeous George, he went for the fanfare. And then Ali, there's a story about it. You know, Ali talked about how he was in Vegas getting ready for a fight, and he was a wrestling fan. And he heard Gorgeous George.
The theater of it.
Yes, the theater. And who was better than that? And, you know, Ali was dyslexic. He couldn't read. I was reading at a third grade level at the age of 30.
Yeah.
So another thing I related to like times 10. But his brain and how he could recite and the poetry, it was all done in his head. That shows you how smart that cat was, man.
So you used to do these big grand entrances and the fireworks go off psh, and you come in, boom, like this. And it must be so exciting.
It was amazing.
And all these people go crazy. What's it like before you go out on stage? And how do you prepare yourself? And how does that compare to, say, some of the speaking gigs you do now, where you speak in front of a lot of people also? What's more intimidating?
I embrace both of them, but it's still, you got nerves,
Yeah.
you know, because, you know, as soon as I start, boom. As soon as I would, you know, as a speaker, you know, as soon as I get out there and the reaction, I'm going to make them react because I'm going to play with them and I'm going to involve them just like I would in wrestling. Wrestling, before I went out there, I would be listening to, you know, maybe Rob Zombie or something like that.
Something get you really hyped up.
Yeah, getting just, you know, that, you know, jacked up rock and roll music. And I would have that in the headset and I would be in the back. In the beginning, I would be just stretching, and I stretched my whole career. But when I broke my back and they said my wrestling career was over and I came back, I'm the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. You know, the first 42 years of my life, Now my name's attached to it, DDP Yoga. But back then, you know, I was stretching and I thought that would have been enough, but it wasn't. You need to be stretching and strengthening muscles, ligaments, and tendons. Like DDP Yoga isn't just yoga. It's yoga meets rehab, meets old school calisthenics done with a slow burn movement, meaning like a 3-second push-up, lower for 3, hold for 3, push up for 3. You know, and then, you know, you build the 5-second, then a 10-second, then sets of 10s. And what's happening when you're moving slowly like that, your body engages more muscles. And what I figured out by accident is every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to bring the blood to the muscle. So what ends up happening is you get a kick-ass cardiovascular workout because I'm flexing and engaging as I'm moving. Think time under tension or lifting weights with no weight. And so the engaging gets the muscles connected so that now when I get into those deep stretches, I'm stretching and strengthening the muscles, ligaments, and tendons. When I broke my back, and what I technically did was rupture my L4 and L5. I had 3 spine specialists tell me, you are done. Like you had a hell of a run there. You got those 2 years in, and, you know, you really made an impact, but you're done or you'll be a crippled. And what ended up happening is my wife at the time had introduced me to yoga, and I couldn't do any of it. And there was no modifications back then. So I had to figure them out. And I'm one of those guys like you've been doing this podcast a year, and you've turned it into something really great very quickly. Well, you figured it out. You and Will, you figured it out. And I'm that guy. I'm going to figure out. My business partner, Steve Yu, he's the greatest figure it out guy of all time. But I'm going to figure out, okay, so my wife at the time, she can do it perfectly. I can't do any of it because I'm broken. So at some point, I grab a chair, and then I can balance myself. I can get up. I can get down by using the chair. So that's how it all started for me. And within the first 3 weeks, I was starting to feel a significant difference. Now, I'm still doing the rehab, right? But the rehab's not working by itself like it had for both shoulder surgeries, both knee surgeries. So, you know, it's not working by itself. So why don't I just mix this yoga with the rehab? So one night before I went to bed, I did, and I was like, wow, it kind of flows. And then I threw in the old school calisthenics and what I call dynamic resistance, just flexing and engaging, time under tension. In less than 3 months, I was back in the ring. At 42, they said my career was over. At 43, I'm the world champ. Now, the world champ in a world that's predetermined is like an Oscar. You're awarded that because you are drawing huge numbers. The people care. You're selling a bunch of stuff. And you can hold on to that mantle. And I had it 3 different times. So it's like getting 3 different Oscars in my world.
And there's a lot of people gunning for that top spot.
Oh, my God.
When you're going for it. How competitive and how cutthroat is that process?
Oh, man.
Is it harder to get it or harder to keep it?
Both. It's really both. Getting to that top spot, like I came up through a group of guys in the 90s that these guys, I mean, if I look like Bill Goldberg, who also became a guy who became a top icon in the business, if I looked like him, that would make sense. But I didn't. I was 35. You know, I was 200 and, you know, at that time, probably about 230 pounds, and I just started gaining muscle and built up to 250, but I was never going to be 298 and shredded like Bill. Wasn't my look. I was the guy who got off the couch and said, I'm going to do this. And, you know, people thought I was crazy in the beginning, but when you really focus on something and you really put the work in, and then the biggest factor is the belief factor, like Ali. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest of all time. He believed that. And no, even if he lost the match to Frazier or whatever, I'm going to get him back. Like he got lucky that day, or he was better than me that moment, but I'm back. And it's all that when Did you ever get a chance to see the resurrection of Jake the Snake?
I watched a little bit of it.
It's powerful documentary.
I know you've been working with him a little bit also.
No, I did for years, and now he's doing amazing. If anybody ever wants to see something that's really powerful, that'll really inspire you to believe that anything's possible, watch The Resurrection.
We'll link it to the bottom.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime, and there's another documentary called Relentless Up there. That's companies that my company did and Steve Yu directed. Really powerful deal. But Jake had this unbelievable transformation, and I would always say, never underestimate. When I inducted him in the Hall of Fame, and if you knew, Jake didn't just burn bridges in the WWF, he nuked them. Like he just, no one believed in him, but I believed in him to bring him back, because he's one of the reasons why I was successful, because he was one of the guys who did believe in me. And I'd written this amazing, bring him out for his talk, for the Hall of Fame. There's 20,000 people there. And the thing I improv'd, and I always mix preparation with improvisation. That's what wrestling is. Like, we're prepared, we have an outline of what we're doing, and then all the improv comes in, and that's what really makes it live. So I'm doing Jake's induction speech, and at some point I say, never underestimate the power someone gives you by believing in you. That's what he did for me. That's what another guy named Dusty Rhodes did for me. Like, those guys believed in me when nobody did. And it gave me like an inner superpower, More importantly, I said, never underestimate the power you give yourself by believing in you. And that is the most important thing with this right here. You figured it out, but you also believed in yourself. Will believed in you. You believed in Will. Together, you put it together, and you made it, like, real.
What do you think drives you then? Because you started at 35 in wrestling, which is, from my understanding, a very late age.
Yeah, nobody.
You found your success in your 40s, and we're around 40. So it almost feels like we are starting our life now. That's what it feels like. These are the conversations that we have. That finally we found something in life that we enjoy, that we believe in, and something that we can almost dedicate our lives to. What drove you to keep on going? Because it's not easy when you first start.
No.
And you run into different roadblocks, obstacles along the way, and it would have been very easy to quit when they said, hey, you're done, your back is done, and you could have been like, it was fun, I'm done. What drove you to keep on going regardless of what other people told you?
Well, I have to be honest, too, that at that time, I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. I had never really made money before that, even though in 97 and 98, I headlined 13, had 24 main event pay-per-views. They got me really cheap. It's kind of like those NFL players that come in and those first couple of years, they might have their heyday. They're not making big money, especially if they didn't get signed in those first round.
Yeah.
They came in the second or third or fifth round. They're really not, according to what the money is like today, they're not making that kind of money. Well, I was making maybe 20%.
You were the 5th round draft pick.
Oh, I was maybe 7th or 9th. He's still here.
Yeah.
But the belief is a vision. It starts with the vision. If you do not have the vision, you will not be able to pull it off. And I'm not talking about daydreaming. I'm talking about a flat out vision. Okay. And it starts as that. And then you start, the repetition in your brain of how can I really do this? And like I've listened to, like I couldn't read. So someone like Tony Robbins, I couldn't read what he wrote, but I could listen, and he had those cassette tapes back then. So again, don't try to reinvent the wheel. See what someone else is already doing like that and do your version of that. really take as much as you can from there and then make it your own. Like I call my workouts DDPY because I don't like to call them yoga, because it's not yoga. It's a fusion of a bunch of different things. And so I always say during the workouts, make the DDPY, and I don't have to say anything. If I'm doing a live workout, everyone will say your own. Make it your own. That's what I was doing when Kim was doing this form of yoga, my first wife, and when I was injured, and I grabbed that chair, I made it my own. And I've had so many people, because eventually when I finally, I'm back in the ring, right? And I'm living the dream again. And I'm living at its highest level because now I'm, the world champ. I'm just, the money's there, like everything's there. And what drove me wasn't just the money. It was the level that I was at and how I got there. And like, it literally, I wasn't at that point, a 6-year overnight success. Like no one even really knew who I was, and then boom. Yeah, it's like you're the one hit wonder, but now you make it a 2-hit and a 3-hit. And so coming back, now I had a real story too. But I knew I was going to have to do this program like the rest of my life. It wasn't like, you can never stop brushing your teeth. You gotta always take showers. There's certain things you have to do. And for me, I'm not the person, I don't understand, because I've helped so many guys who get injured help heal themselves. And then as soon as they feel good, they stop doing it. It's like, you're going to be right back there. Yeah. And people, DDPY is oil for the tin man and woman. And you've got to keep moving. Like I say, I'm going to be 68 April 5th, so it's coming up on less than 4 months. And I'm not preparing for 70. 70 will be here tomorrow. I'm preparing for 80, 90, and 100. That's what I'm preparing for. How will I feel? So I started this program for me, and then I started to share it with people, and then eventually I wrote a book on the subject with a buddy of mine named Dr. Craig Aaron, the yoga doc. He's an Atlanta boy too. And it was called Yoga for Regular Guys because that's what it was to me. And it was for guys. Yeah. I used to say, most yogis are very namaste. Yoga for regular guys, way more TNA. And back then I meant that, Yeah. But then we came out with the DVDs and women really dug it too. So TNA became tone and attitude very quickly.
Switch it fast.
But what's really interesting, I never really realized that there's a lot of women who don't really like the whole, quiet namaste thing. And then that's okay because mine is tone and attitude. And people who are like yogis are like, that's not really yoga. Exactly. And I told people, if someone says that, I'd say, that's what he says. That's why I always brand it DDPY. Why? Because I want people to stop calling it just effing yoga, because it's not. And branding myself, I learned very early, especially in the nightclub business, because I wasn't just a bartender. I was running clubs by the time I was 23 years old. And I did that right up till I took the jump and went all in for the wrestling thing. And, I've always learned that there's better than and there's less than. And whoever is not the best is less than, unless they're different than. And I will always choose the path less traveled.
Love that.
It's so important to me, personally, because, you don't think I can do this? Boom. I used to say to my first wife all the time, Kim, I used to say to her, how many times do I have to part the Red Sea for you? And we're best friends still. Yeah. And this is about living life at 90%. Such good friends that my wife, Paige, her first name is Paige.
So she's Paige.
Paige. Actually, her maiden name is McMahon. So that's no relation. Like, that's God's work to me.
It just works out that way.
It just worked out that way. So she's PMP, Paige McMahon Paige. And she is we talked about this before we started airing, so I have to say it again, my favorite human being of all time.
Amazing.
It's just there. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed because I really live the dream. I live it all the time. And do I have bad days? Yes, I have bad days. I have bad moments. I don't really have. I shouldn't say I have bad days. I have bad moments. Okay, get your head out of your ass. You know, like turn it around and freaking go right to me. Attitude of gratitude, feeling grateful. And when people start to really think how bad their life sucks, is like, really? Let me show you some people and how they're really living right now. Like they're on hard times.
Yeah.
You're on a cakewalk. You know, like you got to start focusing on the things that you have as opposed to what you don't have. And wrestling, I never thought I'd make money in it. I wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it to really follow a childhood dream, because I tried it when I was 23 and it didn't work out for me. And I hurt my knee, and doc told me to take off for 3 months and go back and try that crazy, stupid stuff you're doing and just be careful. And over that period, I got my first little rock and roll joint. I got to run, not just be a bouncer, not a bartender, running it. It was a little place. But then I got swept away by the booze, the broads, and the party.
Easy to get swept away in that life.
It took me to a different spot. But then WrestleMania happened, and I completely stopped watching wrestling. I was so mad at myself because I didn't have the maturity level back then that I have at going to be 68. But I was mad at myself for not paying my dues. I was mad at myself because I knew I was supposed to be in the middle of all that. I knew it. So I stopped watching. And one day I was flicking the channels and I see a guy walk out of the, it's wrestling. Let me watch for a minute. It's been years since I watched. And this guy had a Fu Manchu and long black hair. He had a bag over his shoulder. And it was Jake the Snake Roberts. And when I'm watching him, like he had swag, like before anybody called it that,
Yeah.
And when he got in the ring, the way he moved, and I watched him in the ring, I like his shit looks real.
Yeah.
Like, and then I heard him cut a promo, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And it sucked me in as a fan. This is years later when I was running the club when I was 23. Now I'm 29 or 30. I'm running a club in Fort Myers, Florida. Big nightclub, big dance club. Jake walks in my club.
You didn't know him then?
Didn't know him. I knew who he was.
Of course.
And I was a huge fan. And, when I walked up, the club's packed. And the story is, and it's a true story, I was in my office, I was grabbing my keys, and the club's packed. It's Saturday night, it's like 12 o'clock. And I look on the monitor at the front door, and a guy walked in, looked like Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm like, no way. And I go through the club, but it's so crowded, I ran around the outside.
How many people did you knock over?
Well, there was nobody there. It's around. They were all in the front, but I probably would have, So I got to the front door and I said, Johnny, did a guy walk in here look like Jake Snake Roberts? He goes, yeah, everybody thinks it's him. Yeah. So I start moving quickly towards the door, in, and he was at one of the first bars, and I slowed down, and I went all fanboy all over him. And
be too eager.
Yeah. So eventually I worked my way over to him, and I said, hey, man, you Jake the Snake Roberts? Who wants to know? And that's how he really talked. And I said, the guy who runs this place, yes, what can I do for you? I said, what are we drinking? And we got so shit-faced that night. And back then I partied pretty hard. And he wanted me to, at that time, to go out and continue at partying.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I stopped doing cocaine when I was 29. And I realized that shit can own you.
Yes.
And I watched it ruin so many people's lives. I watched booze ruin a lot of people's lives too. But cocaine and those drugs, that was, that's not my
It's a
spot.
slippery slope.
And that's where Jake was, because he was addicted to coke, crack, booze, pills, like everything. And the fact that in Resurrection of Jake the Snake, and you see where he started and where he ends up, I don't care who you are, you can hate wrestling. You watch that documentary, you will believe that, wow, anything's possible, you know, and that's a powerful statement.
When you were 35 and you decide that you're going to make this jump into full-time wrestling, you have the clubs, you have other things going on in your life.
I've left the club because I wasn't wrestling yet. I was managing. I was actually, for 3.5 years, I was managing, meaning talking for the guys, you know, really over-the-top crazy outfits. You know, I figured I wore zebra skin jackets and leopard skin boots. And, you know, I was running a nightclub, you know, and I was in Fort Myers, not New York City.
You understood the little bit of showmanship around it.
Yeah, so I just had fun with it. And so I was managing guys, not making any money. It cost me money the first 3.5 years to be this Diamond Dallas Page character. And at some point, I got the chance to go to WCW, which was here in Atlanta. That's how I ended up here. Owned by Ted Turner, and Dusty Rhodes brought me in. I'd worked with him in Florida Championship Wrestling, still keeping my day, you know, my night job, because there ain't no money where I'm at in wrestling. And then I got the opportunity, and now I'm managing the Freebirds. I bring Scott Hall in, who would become Razor Ramon from this gimmick I gave him called the Diamond Stud. And I'm thinking my professional wrestling manager is never going to make any real money, but I'm living a dream. I'm on TV. I'm having fun. This is amazing.
You're a part of it.
I'm a part of it. And then one day at TV, this guy, Magnum TA, pulls me in the office, and he says, listen, Dusty, you know, Dusty was my guy. Dusty and Jake were my guys. He's like, Dusty doesn't have the heart to do this, so I'm just going to let you know you're still going to be doing your color commentating, which I'm on their 4th string show at 2:00 in the morning somewhere, you know. And they love you in the production, helping everybody with their interviews and everything, but we can't let you manage anymore. And I'm like, what? Yeah. What did I do? I'll fix it. He goes, well, you really can't fix it. I go, why not? He goes, well, it's you. I go, what do you mean? No, he says, it's not your fault. I go, if it's not my fault, we can fix it. I go, what is it? He goes, it's you. I go, me? He goes, yeah, you. The hair, the clothes, the bling, the diamond dolls, the rap. Like, you're taking too much attention away from the boys. And I look at him, Matt, and I literally say to him, Magnum, are you telling me I'm too over the top for professional wrestling? And he laughed like you did there, you know. And he laughed and he said, it's not your fault, Diamond. He said, what we should have done is put you in a pair of tights and boots and see if you can do this. Yeah. I had 7 months left on my contract. That's when I went down to power plant. And man, not only did that fake stuff hurt like hell, over those next 6 years, I can't tell you how many times I thought to myself, are you sure you really want to do this? You know, because it was brutal on my body. Learning at a, you know, small. And then, but every day it was a little bit more and a little bit more. But it took literally years. Every single person who's an entrepreneur, who's listening to this or wants to be an entrepreneur, the story you tell yourself when you hit that wall, because I personally don't believe that God puts walls in front of us to keep us out. I believe God puts walls in front of us to show us how much we want it and how we're going to figure out to get over the wall or under the wall or around the wall. You've got to, when you hit that wall, the story you tell yourself has to be crystal clear. Because anytime in professional wrestling that I hit that, every single time I hit that story, it would be about, I am going to be a main event performer. I am going to headline main event pay-per-views. I am going to be one of the top guys in the business. And it was just like a rewind and a rewind, saying it over and over and over and over and seeing it, even though no one else saw it. And that's what I tell people all the time. No one else has to see it. But you have to see it. And wrestling was the hardest thing I ever did, like learning how to wrestle. And then I got out there with the people and I realized, oh, wow, that was the easy part. Getting people to care. And everyone knows it's predetermined at this point, right? So before I walk out there, I know that they know. And they know that I know that me and my partner both know who's going to win before we walk out there.
Yeah.
How do you get them to care? And that is the thing that really, first of all, if you just keep putting the work in, they're going to respect you going boom, 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 boom up that ladder, no matter how slow it is, but they're going to come slow with you. If you keep working and if you keep facing one adversity after another, they'll start to get with you. Like for me, when my career started to take off, they started calling me the original People's Champion. You know, today Rock, of course, took it to a whole different level. And couldn't be any prouder of Dwayne Johnson because that cat is the biggest star in the world and he's one of us. And that's a powerful statement. So you just got to keep putting the work in and telling yourself that it's going to happen, but you got to keep putting the work in. You can't start and stop. I watch people all the time start and stop. Like wrestling was so hard to get there, but creating a yoga for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga, because I could have very easily jumped into that yoga world and been a yogi. Yeah, like big
DDP
time,
yogi.
big time yogi.
Namaste yogi.
Right, but I it wasn't who I was. And I respect all types of yoga. In the beginning, I had zero, but as I learned, it wasn't so ignorant. I learned, wow, every single form of yoga. I tell people all the time, I don't care if you're doing mine or not. You need to be doing some kind of yoga. If you're not, you are doing yourself the biggest disservice because there's nothing, yoga's been around forever. It's never going to go away. I believe that mine helps people shift. And because I make it fun, we're, punching 1, 1, 1, 2. I'm making you laugh. All my people who teach my stuff, like I created this app now. And if anybody wants to check it out, go to DDPYoga.com. Don't go to, I tell people all the time, don't go to Google, don't go to iTunes, because it's more expensive there.
Yeah.
And
they got to take their cut.
They got to take their 30%.
Yeah, that's a big cut.
That's a huge cut. I mean, it is what it is. They created that format, but I send people go there because that's where there's always a deal going on somewhere. Right now, it's our biggest deal of the year because it's the holidays. But we created an app. It started with DVDs, and then it started with the book, then it went to DVDs, and then went to a system. But now it's a whole app. And not only do we have, over 300 workouts on there, and no one can tell me they can't do it because my bed flex starts in bed. Then you sit in a chair with chair force. Then you hold on to a chair like where I started. And then you go to beginner and work your way to psycho extreme stuff. But we don't just have recipes up there. We have 3 different 90-day eating plans. Like, it's elaborate. Like, all the recipes, the videos. My daughter, Brittany, she does 90% of them. There's some that I've done up there for myself, too, as well, and me and Paige have done together. But there's all these different recipes. There's not, well, let's put it like this. I think there's 2 different cooking channels. That's 48 hours of cooking shows. There's not a healthy show there's not one healthy cooking show on any of them. But if you go to that app, it's healthy. And it tastes great. Because I don't care how good something is for you. If it don't taste great, I ain't eating it. Because I'm a foodie. I like food, but I want it to taste great. And my daughter's come up with a billion different recipes that are healthy. And then there's all the inspiration, so to keep you on track. Like the very first thing on the app is the list. Like if you do the list, I guarantee you it just won't help you change your life. It'll help you own your life. And that's what everyone needs. They need to feel like they have ownership as opposed to, feeling like garbage, way overweight, immobile. As we get older, the things you lose, muscle mass, bone density, mobility, and flexibility and balance. I've got all that shit, and I beat my body up big time.
Yeah. So your program, DDP Yoga, you actually had it on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And you didn't get a deal?
No, but it was fun, though. And I didn't go there for a deal.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Because I think a lot of people are like, I have an idea. I'm going to go on Shark Tank. What is it really like? How do you even get on? And what was the whole interview process like?
Yeah, it was elaborate. It was like 5 different interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
It started with, first of all, you can't just have an idea. You have to be having the idea out there, and you need to be selling it. It needs to be like, let's call it semi-successful. We were successful. I didn't want their money. And I wasn't going to give them more than 5%. So that's why I wasn't going to get a deal. But
the original deal was, I just watched a clip of it. You wanted $200,000 for 5%, something like this, I believe.
Yes.
Right?
And I didn't want the money. I told the producer, I don't want their money. I'll just give them 5%. And, because what we've got is we're changing lives on a different level. And he was like, well, if you don't want the money, well, then you can't get on the show because it's kind of like the point of the show. And I was like, okay, I'm not saying I won't take the money, but we'll make it $200,000. Now, my company at that year, that was the first year that we had made money. And but that year we made $1 million without Shark Tank. So I had like a history already. And when we brought in $1 million, we made $1 million, but it took 8 years. To be an overnight success.
I mean, that seems to be the recurring theme, right?
But that is the theme. You've seen that book, or maybe read it. I just know about it. Outliers. They say 10,000 hours. And everything. If you get it that quick, like if people lose their weight that fast, they're going to gain it back that fast.
No appreciation for the hard work.
Yeah, and when it takes time. When you got a lot of time in, you really appreciate it and you don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
And that nothing irritates me more than entitlement. Like, did you work for it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you worked for it, then it's a big difference. So for me, that's how I like to do things. Even in my will, it's going to be set up like that, because I'm done.
Got to work for it.
You got to work for it, and you got to give something back. And who are you taking care of? Who are you giving? Like for my girls, it was like, to me when they were young kids, it was like, like, I know you want that. Okay, what are you going to do for your mother? And I adopted both of them. It wasn't like they were my blood kids, but they are,
Yeah.
And their mom was very close to me, and we were good friends. And I was just like, you need to do something for your mom, and then we'll talk about that,
How long was the actual interview or the actual recording?
Shark Tank.
Yeah, Shark Tank.
Shark Tank originally started, first one was a phone, second one was a video, and they wanted us to do a pitch. And again, most of those people don't have really any camera time.
Yeah.
I had quite a few, and Steve came on with me, so it was perfect, for us to bounce stuff back and forth. But once once we got to like we knew we were on, they still said to you like, that doesn't mean you're going to air.
Yeah.
Because if it's bad TV, it's not airing.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there was some shows that were like that. But the biggest thing, that they do, they film you for an hour. So you really don't know what they're going to use.
Yeah.
And
do they ask real questions? Is it actual? Do you feel like you're really getting grilled?
They don't.
Or does it feel like TV?
No. I think it's probably one of the closest things to like what would be reality TV, because you don't get to talk to them. They're not even paying attention to you while they're setting everything up because they're,
they got other things
billionaires. They got a lot going on, So, but they were cool. It was funny. You never saw a part where I was showing, Cuban. I was showing Mark Cuban, how to do dynamic resistance, engaging muscles.
So he was actually doing them.
He did it. He got it up and he did a diamond cutter. He's creating he's going. He hulked it up. Attention. And I said, I made the mistake of saying, you see how you're starting to sweat a little bit? Made the mistake of saying to a billionaire, you're sweating. Sweating? I'm not sweating. Like it. And
you scratch his ego just a little bit.
Well, I said to him, I go, then you're not doing it right. Dude, because got the camera right there.
Yeah.
Right. And so like he's killing my thing here. He's killing everybody gets engaged and they start just perspiring just a little bit. And I said, do it again. And I got right. And he was cool. He didn't like bark back at me or anything because he's a big guy. He's like 6'4". And so he did it again. And I go, say you're starting to like perspire just a little bit there, a little bit, engaging the muscle. He goes, oh, not really, Diamond. You have to understand that I walk around with a 44 heart rate. And that's very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare. And, so I was like really worried they were going to put that in there, but they didn't. The way they played it, they being able to bring the disabled veteran, and that was something. Have you ever seen that video of Arthur?
Yeah.
So that's
a crazy story.
Yeah, put that video down there because
I'll put that in the description.
Yeah, most people. It made Joe Rogan cry.
Yeah,
because he had never seen it, which was great. But it's and when you're having a guy come on like Arthur, who is a transformation and is very thankful that, didn't just change your life, but in his case, pretty much saved his life, and that's the same thing with Jake, that's always good to have people talk about because the best advertising you can have is people who've already done it. Yeah. And here's what I got from it. So having Arthur on there as well, I mean, I couldn't have. I loved our little bit with me and God, what's his name? I can't think of his name now.
Wonderful.
Yes, he played with me with a diamond cutter, and it was fun. I had a really good time. Steve was a little disappointed we didn't get a deal, but I didn't want the deal because now I've got billionaires telling me what I can and can't do. Yeah. And you own 5%, and I wasn't going to give them more. Because
5% for a lot of control that you have to go. Maybe not on paper, but the personalities arrive.
Right.
And all of a sudden.
And who knows? And what's really goes, and I didn't know this till later, but a lot of those deals that become deals, they don't become deals.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of it has to do with, okay, so you say all this. Well, now we got to do discovery.
Yeah.
They
find out that it's not as not what they say it is.
Exactly. And those guys really care about the fact that that you've already have a business set up and you are already selling. We were. And again, I didn't really the app, our app right now, I got 5 million in that thing.
Wow.
Yeah, over the years. I mean, because it's $50,000 a month.
Yeah.
That we're constantly, and it's changed so much. Like when people go on there and they look at DDPYoga app, and if you go to I always tell people, like I said, don't go to Apple or iTunes, just go to DDPYoga.com and download it, and you got 7 days. You can check it out. And again, like I said, there's so much content there, and it really it gives people hope. Like there's the 5 things I'm the proudest of. Number 1, my wife and my girls. Number 2, it would be my friggin' world championships. 3 of those, the Hall of Fame ring, the resurrection of Jake the Snake, and there's a Facebook group. Because I tell people all the time, don't listen to a word I say about my program. Go on Facebook, DDPYoga, one word. It's not mine. It's a group of people. Started with 5 people, 3 guys, 2 girls. They wanted to help stay accountable to each other. Now there's 77,000 people on
And
there.
you didn't create that.
I did not create that.
It's a true community effort.
I mean, the people you will never believe. Pull that up there. Pull that up there, because you never know what's up there. I created every day there's something new on the app. Like it could be a cooking show, it could be a new workout, it could be one of the workout flashbacks, it could be Motivational Monday, it could be like what Power Cuffs is about, it could be Fabulous Fridays. And I originally called it Fabulous Facebook Fridays, but they didn't.
They wanted to get rid of the Facebook.
Facebook.
They're
Facebook.
tough.
Oh my God. I don't even understand it, because there it is. that's my
812,000 followers.
769,000 likes. Yeah, 800,000 followers. Just blow. No, that's DDPYoga. That's our thing. Go. That's my page that got that.
Okay. Oh.
Go to where it's DDPYoga.
One word.
One word. And then you'll see it come up there. Now, this is people.
It's a group.
Yeah, it's a group. It's people helping people. Like a lot of people come to our program because they're looking for hope. A lot. They're beat up. They're well overweight. Nothing is work for them. And then they end up here. And the number one thing besides the program, I see, those are the 6 pictures that I show people that they should take, and then go roll into this, just see what's down here. Because I've never, back it up. So you see 7,800 people.
Wow.
That joined on their own. I had nothing to do with this.
38 new posts today, so it's active.
No, it's constantly active. Zip through all that. Get to where the...
Oh, no, you got to...
It's a private account.
It's a private group. You have to join it.
Oh, too bad.
You have to join it. You have to get approved.
Right.
You got to do the...
Well, it's real.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. And like the people who put their pictures up there, okay, like women and men, because those 6 pictures I was showing you, they put them up there and they really let it all out. So a lot of them, cry for, a day or 2 after they put the pictures up, but they put them up. And that's a first sign of being accountable to who? To you, right? Like you're putting your shit out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this. And the pictures are mobility. First it's, front, side. Then it's mobility. Like how far can you touch your toes? How far can you squat? The one I have everybody do, I don't know if this camera will get me if I'm standing up like this.
Yeah, I think so.
Will it? Yeah. So
The main camera's got you.
the other one will be, where you're balanced. And this is core strength. This became like my thing. Let me just take this wallet out. If I take this foot, some people can just do this. And then can they do this? Can they do this? Can they do this? Can they do... Don't want to slip it. See, can they do... little tight. That.
68 years old. Young. That's amazing.
This is core strength at a different level.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Can you do that, Will?
Hell no.
Should you try?
No.
I think we should. Will come up and try to do
myself right now.
We'll put a little pillow down for you when you fall.
I've always got to throw that in because wrestling from 35 to 40, 4 to 42, blow my back out, come back, go to 46, retire for the first time, come back at 49, because I want to show everybody what my program is doing for me. So I'm the first, before and after. But it was never about weight loss. This program, I've got people who have lost hundreds, literally hundreds of pounds. And it was never about that. That's just an awesome side effect. Like this, every year, starting January 1st, we have the Positively Unstoppable Challenge. And that's a book I wrote, Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It. What is it? 6-inch piece of real estate in between your ears, your inner voice, the story you tell yourself. So they join that challenge, and we have thousands of people. I used to try to pick 3 or 4. Over the last couple of years, I can't pick less than like 9. Of one grand champion and all the rest are champions. The guy or the girl who is the champion of the grand champion, well, they got a chance to win $250,000.
Really?
Yeah. Now they're guaranteed it the last few years, $25,000. And then I break it up and give everybody $1,000 or something for the other ones. But we fly them all in. We put them up. We do their stories. And they all get to come to my Christmas party, which this year had like 170 people at.
Wow.
In my house.
Got a big house.
Yeah, it's a big house. But it's just, my house puts Macy's to shame when it comes to Christmas decorations in the house.
Well, real question, who's doing the decorations?
Me and my wife.
Really?
Yes.
You guys don't outsource?
No. Nope.
Christmas.
The lights on the roof.
You'll outsource.
No, I'm not doing that.
Christmas decorations is because we're getting into Christmas in a week and a half here. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
And it's something that I remember we just moved to Flower Branch, I told you. And my neighbor has Christmas decorations. I'm in one of these subdivisions where they have the Christmas decoration
everywhere.
Oh,
so, dude, I got to know that. I got to go
beautiful.
by there.
So all the streets do it. Each street has their own theme or whatever. Not every house,
but a lot of them.
75% of the houses.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And we just moved in, and our neighbors are all doing it. And I'm like, oh, I have to. I can't be the new neighbor that doesn't do Christmas decorations because I look like the Grinch.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So now I'm putting up these Christmas decorations, and my wife's like, hey, put this up. So I put them up, and she goes, this is before we toured the whole neighborhood. She says to me, oh my gosh, what if we win?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, there is no way in hell. Or I did it in an afternoon wins. And she's like, no, I think we're going to win. And that evening, I said, get in the car. Let's go check out the neighborhood. And instantly, she's like, we're not winning.
Well, look, this is my house right now.
Oh, nice.
That's an 8-foot Santa. Reindeer. So inside, it looks like we don't even decorate compared to what the inside looks like. Like this is walking in the door.
Wow.
Pretty crazy, right? Yeah, it's there's looking off to the left. Let's see. Where the hell is that? That's the Grinch tree up in the sale. Yeah, it's out of control. It's out of control.
Why do you love Christmas so much?
I just love the festivity of it all. That would be the going into the living room. That's little villages back there. Yeah, we don't play around with it.
Because some people do kind of do Christmas. Some people are like, I'm not doing Christmas. And there are some people who just absolutely love it. What is that to you?
I just love I think people are nicer to each other around that time. They're kinder to each other.
Unless you're at the mall.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's different. Yeah. But I think that, people are just, they have a better attitude in general. So, like, I'm not into the whole present thing of it. Like, I will give, I don't want.
Yeah.
I told my kids are always getting me something. I'm like, listen, village, one of the little village things. You want to get a little house for, because then it's a memory.
Yeah.
Like my daughter Kimmy, when Paige and I got married, gave me the little chapel and the groom with the little blonde over his, carrying her threshold. Like that's a memory. Like that's one is my favorite. So I just want them just. Give me one each, You guys get it, and I don't want them to spend money on me. I don't need their stuff, I want them. I'll take care of them, and just my crew. I like to take care of people, and I'm pretty generous, and just to people in general. Like I'll go down to some homeless area or down in some hood area, and. Unless I'll give like $5,000, like a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, just for people who need it, And it's just, just way to give back. I think people are just nicer at that time,
We talked a lot about your business partner, Steven Yu?
Steve Yu, yeah.
Steve Yu, Korean guy.
Yeah.
I recognize the last name. And we talked a lot about him. You said originally that you met at an airport.
Airport, yeah.
What made you say, this random Korean guy that shows up to me at the airport, hey, do you know what? I'm gonna take my chance with him, and I'm gonna go. Because you didn't know him before.
Yeah, but we in the beginning it was just we met. He said that he had this movie he was working on, documentary, self-taught, all that, called Inspired the Movie, and he said he would love to have me, follow me because he sees the way I am with people. He had seen me, whatever. And as a wrestler, I was very inspirational as well because coming from the bottom to the top, like nobody really does that. They start around the middle and move up. They don't. When you're at the bottom, you don't ever get to the top.
A little bit of establishment push to help you along the way.
Right. And so a lot of guys will come in with that spot where they could go right to that top, And then there's guys who have worked their way up, but it was always from like the middle, not the guys who lose all the time, which is where I was at. So Steve, when he said it to me, he said, I love what you're doing now. And I am filming this documentary right now, and I'd love to follow you, and somebody you're working with. I was like, sure, come on out to L.A. So he did. Two guys that was working, they were great for a couple months, and like most people, they fall off, And then I started working with Arthur. And Arthur was anyone who got my DVDs, like way back in 2006, 2007, I would send them an email, me. Not my now today it automatically comes out.
Yeah, now
right?
everything's automated.
Right. But back then I didn't have, it was me, period, everything.
Really writing an email.
Writing it was a cut and paste.
Yeah.
But I would send it saying, first of all, thank you for believing in me and investing in my program, and I really appreciate it. And I would love if you'd answer 6 questions, I think it was. And Arthur's answers were off the hook, and I called him back. The first person I really started to communicate with, that was someone I met online, and this is 2007, and I sent him an email going back saying, "It sounds like you need some help. Tell me a little bit about yourself." Now his cliff notes would be 100% disabled veteran. Relegated, 100% disabled veteran, morbidly obese, relegated to thinking of myself as a piece of furniture.
He said that.
He said that. That's heavy, right?
Yeah.
So I said, send me some pictures so I can see what I'm working with. Now, one of the things he had written is that he was a veteran, of course, but they wouldn't operate on him because he's 5'6", 297 pounds, and they wouldn't operate on him until he got under 250. So his initial goal is to get under 250 so he get his knees operated on, and hopefully this won't be as bad. So I sent him one of those 3 eating plans that now aren't just eating plans written. they're elaborate, like
Yeah.
on the app. They're like, here's the recipe. Here's what you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Here's how you make it. Here's a video of Brittany or somebody or me making it for you.
No eating it.
No, no.
I feel like that's the next transition. You
Well,
know, the
I
mukbang
always-
culture. You need to watch people eat it.
Well, the funny part is, and sometimes we leave this in there, is the crew. All right, come on. It's kind of like when I'm watching Julia Child right now on HBO Max. If you haven't seen it, it's great. And the whole cast is great, but she's really good. Where was I for that?
Arthur.
So I said, here's the eating plan. And I sent him the top one, which is the health one. Okay. I said, let me know what you think. Now, if he writes back to me, I think I can do it, or I'll give it a try, I would have wrote back, awesome, keep me posted. But he didn't. He wrote back 4 powerful words. I can do this. I said, send me your phone number. So that's the first cat I ever called. Now, I call people all the time. Like, I'll grab somebody that just got the program,
Yeah.
and I'll call them.
That's amazing.
Hey, Bill, how you doing? It's,
That's so old school.
so
People don't do that anymore.
I do it. I do it. at
Everything
least-
is automated. Everything is auto response.
You can't even call somebody.
You
Forget
can't talk
call-
to someone on the phone.
Yeah, you can't even get like I want to cancel this Skype that they keep
Yeah.
charging for. There's no one to talk to.
There's no one to talk to. And if you reach out to someone that you're trying to get a hold of or of some sort of influence, it's always you're talking to the team. Never do you actually ever get to speak to the guy.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I do,
Which is
because I've
crazy.
been doing it since 2007.
Yeah.
And remind me to tell you one of the stories of one of the calls. So Arthur, I get on the phone with him, and I say, "Listen, Arthur, I don't need to have what's the letters for doctor, MD.
Yeah.
I don't have to have MD at the end of DDP to tell you if you keep living this lifestyle, you ain't gonna be around the next 5-10 years, bro."
Yeah.
And that scared him. But I really wanted him to understand, as important as the program is, the workout, as important as this eating plan is, not a diet, eating plan is, it's 10% of the equation. The 90% is in between your ears. It's going to come down to the story you tell yourself. If you stick to this, this could really change your life. Now, I never thought what happened would happen. I just didn't think it would. I thought maybe he'll lose the 50 pounds. He'll get, he'll get the, knees operated on. Then we'll try to work with him from there. He lost 30. Well, this is where Steve Yu comes in. He lost 20 pounds and 4 inches off his stomach the first 2 weeks. Now, I'm not going to tell him that he lost the 4 inches because he was bloated from the food he was eating.
Yeah.
But he
A little
did,
bit of affirmation to keep him going.
right. But he did lose the 20 pounds too. And 20 pounds in 2 weeks, those were like biggest loser numbers in the beginning.
Yeah.
Before they started losing 50 pounds in a week, because
Which
they
is
were
crazy.
whatever they were doing
Yeah.
wrong to those people. But I said to him, I said, just keep doing what you're doing. And he's like, well, how can I get it to go faster? I've never had this results before. I said, do it 7 days a week and, just keep doing what you're doing. He goes, can I do that? I go, dude, I worked up to doing 7 days, 3 hours a day. That's how I got back in the ring. Now, it wasn't all at one time. It was broken up over the day, but I was 3 hours a day, and that's how I built my body back up. And I said, you might be able to too. That first week, he lost 32, that first month, he lost 34 pounds. The second month, he lost 22 pounds. The third month, he lost 18 pounds. That's 74 pounds in 3 months. And he's eating healthy. It's not like he's just friggin' eating garbage or not eating. So he would lose 140 pounds in 10 months.
Wow.
More importantly, he lost the knee braces, the back brace, and the wraparound canes, not just to walk, but run. So that showed me that what I got here isn't your average workout. It isn't your average eating, your dieting or whatever you're doing. This can change people's lives. So that was in 2007. I call Steve up after those first 2 weeks, and I hear he's lost 20 pounds. And I said, Steve, now he lives in Atlanta at the time. I'm in L.A. And I said, I got to get you to go to Washington, to Baltimore. He goes, Baltimore? I go, yeah. He goes, I'm in Washington, D.C. I said, do you have your camera? He goes, yes. I go see this guy. Now, we did a longer version of that Arthur tape, that Arthur video, where Steve says he thinks, well, this is going to be a waste of time. This guy can barely walk. And we've got all that original footage. And then Steve started to continue because he saw him starting to go. Now, at that time, we're not partnered up or anything. We're not, this is just my buddy helping me, and it helps him with his movie. And long story short, he didn't actually ever release that movie because it wasn't good enough for Steve. Because he's got to have it like where everything's answered all the way through and a strong ending. But he took that Arthur video that I made with his son early on and redid it when we became partners. And 4 months in, that thing took off.
Crazy.
And all of our people who come to isn't because I go and talk on podcasts about what I'm doing. They go and they see some of the videos and then they see more and more. And we're a production company. Like, we film and tell stories about all the people that we help. Not all of them, but a lot of them. The ones who want their story out there. And that's what that Positively Unstoppable Challenge is all about. So if anybody's thinking, and understand the weight loss thing, 2 women that were on the Positively Unstoppable Champions this year, no weight loss from either one of them. One was because her hip, she has a 3D printed hip in her hip socket. And you got to see the journey that this girl, Crystal's been on. And then there's the 73-year-old Diane, who years ago, we watched her, I couldn't get off the John. There's all these different exercises that I have put into my workouts that, help your knees get more mobile, your hips, your shoulders, your back, of course, backs, big. But it's your whole body. And she couldn't get up and off the ground without grabbing onto things and lifting herself up. That's the first things people, as they get older, can't do. Never mind be able to hold their foot over their head. But when they start, they can all put their foot over their head. It's like a signature thing that I did, and I've always put out there like, hey, look at this. A beat-up wrestler, and I've been able to do it since I've been in this program for 6 months, all the way through. And it's something I'll never lose because I always do it. And I do it not every day, but, a couple days a week. So repetition and always keeping that oil tuned,
Will, we may have to do a competition between me and you to see who can put their foot above their head first.
Yeah, maybe. But I want to ask Mr. Page, are there any other workouts that you do other than the DDP yoga?
Oh, yeah. I just, the power cuffs thing, and you had mentioned it earlier, like power cuffs are blood flow restriction training. And power cuffs, I lifted weights. I was a meathead, my whole, even in the nightclub business, the whole deal. I was a meathead since, I was a kid. So all the time you're lifting those heavy weights, wear and tear on your body.
Yeah.
It's all
joints
tough. Bad, right? So when I'm 50 after I retired, really at 50 years old, I retired for good. I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to hit a diamond cutter. I'm going to hit a diamond cutter when I'm 70. I'm going to. And it'll probably be on WWE or AEW or one of them. But I'm going to do it. But the wear and tear, now your body can't lift heavy. But you still think you can because today you feel strong and that day you might. But the next day, man, I was leaving the gym. Oh, my shoulder.
Shoulders are the toughest, right?
My pec. What the hell did I do with my pec? Oh, my bicep. I would be leaving all the time going, I got to stop. And I'm doing DDPYoga through all of this, right? And that's where I just got rid of the weightlifting. And for 16 years, 15 and a half years, I did not lift the weight. Now, one of the things I did with these power cuffs, they originally started, I called them jack straps. And they were like, jack it up. And it's still blood flow restriction, but it wasn't.
Can you pull up the site real quick, Will? I'm trying to get
pull up power.
I'm just trying to get context. Powercuffs.com. I think.
Yeah, powercuffs.com. They weren't user friendly, the original ones that I had, but they still worked. They were still the best on the market, but they didn't release the way. Not all of them. They just had headaches with them. Now you can see it wrapped around the bicep, top of the bicep. Now on that shot right there, like that's me right there. And if you saw the picture of me before I started lifting weights, I'm skinnier than that. Not really, but I've still got muscle, but not like that. But if you take that where that's band is on the top of the arm, these were developed by a Japanese doctor who was helping people rehab. So what happens when they're on your legs, top of your legs, say you tear your ACL or your meniscus or whatever it is. If you tear your bicep or your pec or your rotator cuff, you put them. It's used for you use the cuffs. So here's what's happening: when you stop lifting weights because you can't lift heavy weight anymore, you go to a lighter weight and more reps, but you never get that pump like that rock. Like my arm, that's like a rock. I didn't have that before. All right. I had it back when I was lifting heavy and I could move all that, weight. But once I stopped, it gets softer and softer and softer. And you get a little muscle. When you're working out with those, weights,
a little bit of pump.
You get pump. You're chasing a pump. My buddy Tony Freeman, who back in the day when he was in 9 different Olympias, he was, 300 pounds and just shredded. They called him the X-Man. He retired 7 years ago, completely stopped lifting weights. Went down to like 230. Then he got COVID and went to 205.
Shit.
So now he's got to get back in the gym, and he's chasing a pump that he's not getting really anymore. It's there while he's lifting, and then it's gone. When I put these things on him, he looked at me after the second set, and he said, "When are you working out next?" I go, on Wednesday, so Monday. He said, "Can I come back?" I'm like, "You come back as much as you want, bro." And so he's becoming a big supporter.
So what is this actually doing? I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, so you see the cuffs that are there?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on. I almost brought them in to me. I wish I would have. And I told Marlon I wanted to work out with you.
Yeah.
And you turn them, okay? And I call it power up. So now they tighten.
It's like Reebok pumps back in the day.
Exactly. but it's more of a
turn instead of pump.
But there's also ones that are really expensive that are where you take it and you do it like a blood pressure cuff. I don't like those ones because it's a hose. And to do BFR properly, they needs to be 2 inches. And so ours is 2 inches all the way around. And there's a cushion on the inside so when you're tightening them up, it's not like it's pinching you or anything like that. So it's got that firm tightness. So now when you have, I wish I brought them with me, damn it. Yeah. When you're just doing this with no weight, like what I'm doing with DR, and this is how I was using the jack cuffs with DDPYoga. I've got jacked workouts where you're pushing and pulling, you're still getting that blood flow in there, not as much as weights, and it builds it builds long, lean muscle mass. The weights build muscle mass. Yeah. So what happens, think of your heart, and the arteries, right? And the arteries run down your arms and into your fingers, right? And then the veins take the blood back. So when you're pumping the blood, the oxidized blood is pumping in and then it works its way out. Think of the arteries as PVC piping. Think of the veins as a garden hose. So PVC, you could step on it, it ain't going anywhere, unless you break it. The hose, though, you step on that, the water's still going to trickle out, right? So that's what happens. So they call it a venous pool. So when the blood is trapped there, anytime you're lifting weights in those last few reps, that's where you grow. That's where you get the real pump because all the blood is there. This is happening pretty much immediately. Now, you're only going to lift 20 to 30% of your maximum load. So today I was doing chest and biceps and starting on the bench. This is only a 30 to 35 minute workout. I'm going to superset these. I was with my buddy Marvelous Mark Merrill because I wanted him to try them and he loved them. So what we did is we got on the bench first and we did incline dumbbells. And I started at 20 pounds. Now I'm doing 35 to 40 pounds. I'll never go over that. Like, that'll be my max because I can only get 40 pounds through one series. And what I mean by that is you're going to do 30 reps. Then you're going to go over, and today I did supinated bicep curls. Pulling up and turning, 30 reps there. 30 seconds back. I'm back over here. Now I'm going to do 15 reps. But if I can get 20, I'm going to 20. Because when I can get, instead of 15, 15, 15, I can get 20 reps, 20 reps, 20 reps. Consistently, it's time for me to go up. When I started doing dumbbells, it wasn't with 20s. It was with 10s. 10 pounds. It was, humiliating for me in the beginning.
Because you're a big guy,
but
6'4",
right,
in the gym with 10-pound weights, curling up. I can only imagine.
It's such a trip, though.
Yeah.
And then I went to 12 pounds. Then I went to 15 pounds. I went to 17 and a half pounds. Then I went to 20 pounds. And 20 pounds I can do through that first series of inclines or flat bench. It doesn't matter what exercise you're doing. You're going to do 30 and 30. Then we're going to do 15 and 15 or try to get to 20 and 20. 30 seconds off in between 20 and 20. 30 seconds off 20, 20. By that time, you know that DDP was spot on because the pump you already have blows your mind. And the thing that I love the most about it, it's like that was a few hours ago. You can see, like, that's like a rock. My biceps and triceps like a rock. My chest, same way. I've been back lifting for the last 10 months, and I'll never not lift now because I'll be able to do this and control this because, again, this is something that helps heal your body. Like, they have found to improve the VO2 max by this. I mean, there's so many studies. Like, if you go to powercuffs.com and you do, like, watch the stuff, like Dr. Tom Wall will explain it all right there. There's so many studies on this, and that's where Steve Yu, like you said, you're a very skeptical person. Steve Yu, oh my God, he's gonna rip it apart. When I first told him that I was doing the workouts, now this is back when it was jack straps, and I was first doing the pushing and pulling and the dynamic resistance with these straps on. Yeah, right. He didn't really listen to me a lot on it. Then we got with Kevin Wilkes. Kevin Wilkes, have you ever heard of Dr. Andrews? Dr. Andrews is the doctor when you get injured in the NFL, NBA, WWE. You do not pass go. You go right to his place, and if you're a top guy, he works on you. If not, he's got the best doctors in the world there. But he's also got the best PT guy as well, personal therapist. And he is Kevin Wilkes. He uses our cuffs down there in his place. And he's like a walking, encyclopedia on it.
Yeah, I used a similar method to rehab my knee. So I hurt my knee from running outside during the pandemic when everything was closed down.
Right.
And I follow this guy called Knees Over Toes Guy on
Yes,
Instagram.
he's great, Ben.
Right, yeah. And
Yes.
One of his trainers suggested that I floss my knees and do air squats before I warm up for a workout. So I did that. And what it does is when you actually, you have the bands around your knee and then you do a couple of sets. And then once you release it, the rush of blood cells back into your knee actually acts as like a healing process and helps like heal up the torn ligaments.
Yeah, that's not bad, but according to, I want to say it was Dr. Matsudo, whoever, I can't remember his name, but it's like they need to get the most effect at the top of your quads. Because if you're just walking, like if you're injured and you're just walking around, it's all about getting the blood flow into those areas to help heal the body. Like when I'm the first guy to put ice on his body in professional wrestling. For 5 years, no one did it.
Really?
And the only reason someone did, because they brought in a trainer and said, no, you need to ice that shoulder. You need to ice that knee. You need to ice your back. For me, I knew already, like, my knees are not the greatest. I need to freaking ice them after every single match and my back. And there was days where I didn't do it because I thought, I feel good. Oh, next morning, not so good. So I was icing my body before anybody was. And even at the end, I would put it underneath my T-shirt and walk out of the building with one behind my back in my jeans, ice bags on both knees, wrapped up with ace bandages, and underneath my T-shirt. I left with 5 ice bags. That's how I did it and kept going, and at such a feverish pitch, because my whole career was really in my 40s.
All right. So now you have had your wrestling success. You have had success in business. What's left? What do you aspire for now? What's your current goal?
I was really think I was going to focus on acting, but I don't. I've gotten some good parts and had some fun doing stuff, but there's a fun movie I did with Don Johnson called High Heat. It's out there right now. But it takes, like, when you're going for auditions, like, I'm going to put such work into that audition. My most valuable commodity right now is time. Time with my wife, time with my kids, time that, I don't want to spend doing something that I may not get. Now, if I got a call from Rob Zombie, like I did with Devil's Rejects, and he said, I want you for this, I'd probably do it.
I'm down.
Yeah. But it's time. So we're building, I think, I don't know if I told you this, I was talking about it earlier. We're building Paige's Retreat down in Panama City Beach.
Okay.
And it's 4 stories. The top floor is ours. It's 8,400 square feet. Downstairs, there's 3rd floor, there's 3 bedrooms on the Gulf, all with their own porch. There's 3 other bedrooms back behind that. There's on the 2nd floor, it's 39 feet wide, and down the middle there's a wall. And on the one side, it's, the kitchen, living area, all that shit. On the other side, it's a place for DDP yoga. And we have those doors that, it's all glass, and we just slide them over. And now it's all one glass, and the other 4 doors are open. So it's like you're looking at the ocean. Or the Gulf. You're looking at the
Gulf side's nicer.
Yes, yeah. They're looking at the Gulf, and on both sides. So we're gonna, and then down below that, we'll have steam room, infrared sauna, oxygen therapy stuff. It's like literally going to be a wellness center, just like my house. My house is a wellness center.
Is it going to be for rent, retreat? I mean, what are you going to use it for?
It'll be rent during the summer, because I don't want to be in Florida in the summer anyway. But people do, and this will be a big ticket item. I won't I'll block off mine, but the 4th floor, but everything else will be open. And we will do that during the summer, but the spring and fall, it'll be retreats. And we will do, DDP yoga retreats, but I'm also going to open it up. I've got quite a few buddies of mine who are big yogis, and they do retreats. And this is a place that they can come and have, like, the pool, have a hot tub, pool, and cold plunge. Because I'm a big cold plunger.
Is it like a bed and breakfast for yogis?
Yeah, kind of.
Am I synapsing this correctly?
Yeah, kind of. Really, it's for athletes, because I bring a lot of athletes. Like one of my buddies, Raymond, just broke his neck, a couple months back with WWE. His partner, Ivar, Todd, he broke his neck 2 years ago. Tommaso before that. They all come and see me. Like, I take care of a lot of the guys that, in between that part where they get their rehab and now they're heading out. Well, now you need to get the total body rehab. And I help a lot of the guys who are, like, we're about to put do you remember a guy named Butterbean?
Yeah.
All right. So Butterbean came up to me. I wish I had a picture of this right now to show you. When he showed up, we filmed a docu-series last year called Change or Die. And it's probably going to end up on Amazon. I'm not sure right now yet. But Butterbean was pretty much in a wheelchair. He could walk, but he had to have the crutches, and he didn't like them underneath his arms. So he would take the handles and put them out in front of him because he couldn't stand up.
And he was, if my memory serves me correct, he was a big guy.
350, 380 pounds.
Can you pull up a picture just for reference, Will?
Yeah, he was a big cat, and he was a bad man. He's a Hall of Famer. He had 100 and some fights. Yeah. And a lot of them were just knocking guys out. Yeah. But, beat up his body because he also did MMA, did professional wrestling. So, yeah. He there, right there, he's probably about that picture you were just on, he's probably about 380 there. Yeah. But he's blown up as high as 500.
Really?
Yeah. And today, he is 285 and can stand up straight and is getting ready for maybe another fight.
Another fight?
Yeah. Just, a fight. Well, you want to have that one more on the way out.
Yeah, yeah.
And but he's also come
and he had
back.
A great name
Butterbean
for him to come back on.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, he right now the promoters have talked to me about it because if you saw him, when you see that video, and I'll make sure I get it to you,
yes.
You'll share it out there. So we're putting that out this Christmas. He's already there. He's already been training, and it's like amazing. Like when he walked in the house. Now this is where I filmed the Resurrection of Jake the Snake. When he walked in the house, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that he was in this condition. And I said to Steve, I'm like, oh man, and Bagwell, his leg is all screwed up. But we brought basically people who were invalids, except for this one woman, Cece. They were really bad off. And I'm like, man, what are we going to do with that? He goes, but imagine if we can.
Yeah.
That's always Steve. But imagine if we can. And we did. Yeah. And we did, because it's a journey. We also helped my, this is a power cuff. This is my power cuff poster boy, not Butterbean. This other guy. All right, what the hell's doing? I don't know how to get that back. Oh, there it is. All right, this is my poster boy. His name is Scotty Riggs. He used to be a professional wrestler. Okay, that's where he started. 6 months later, he's that guy.
Wow.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Exactly. Okay, look, is there any way I can send you this pictures? Put this up?
You can airdrop it?
Yeah, let's airdrop it. You have to do it, though. I don't know how to do that. But make sure, okay. Make sure you show that picture by itself, though, first. Now, Scotty's story is like, I helped this guy. You remember Marcus Buff Bagwell?
Is your airdrop open, Will?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Scotty's transformation is insane. He was literally living in his car. He was ready to kill himself when Marcus Bagwell, who used to be his tag team partner, called him. And Marcus was calling him because, have you ever seen that show, The Dark Side of Wrestling on Vice?
No.
It's really good. They do. They talk about the dark side, but they also help them with the, if they have a change. And this guy Marcus Bagwell did, and we helped him. He's another guy that was in the house when we were doing Change or Die. But Marcus was, out of rehab and was sober for, probably about 6 months at this time. And he called Scotty up, and Scotty said he didn't want it. Yeah, I don't really want to do it. And, but thanks, Marcus. And they hung up, and Marcus called him back, and he was like, what's the real deal? And basically he told him, where he was at. And, I can't come. I got 3 bald tires in my car. I'm living in my car.
Oof.
And Marcus said, come to Dallas's house. He will want you. So that's where he showed up at the Prib, and that's him 6 months later.
How old is he?
57.
That is, how long did this take?
6 months.
6 months.
And I told him, I said, he's like, what can I do? Because I'm giving, put him up, take care of him. I said, you got this place till the end of December. This is, about, I guess, 8 months ago. And I said, you can stay here. I want to, clean it up and sell it out, sell the place at some point. But for right now, just treat this place like your own.
Yeah.
And he was like, what can I do for you? I said, take care of you. You become the best you can be, and use the power cuffs. What you already do, DDPYoga. So get you back to working with Josh, one of my guys, and we will. I'll tell you the really cool part of this story is that last year we just brought the new champions in. We did the Christmas party, and the videos, ticket for this next year we'll be releasing them. But last year, one of our guys who had been in the contest 3 years in a row, a challenge 3 years in a row, he dropped from 540 pounds, and I'll send you that video, 540 pounds down like 300 pounds. And when he got there, couldn't really tell because he always keep your mouth shut. Like he didn't have hardly any teeth. So I had turned Jake on to a friend of mine who got Jake all new teeth, up and down, and they call teeth in a day.
Yeah.
So they pull out whatever you got and blah blah blah. And Golpo was the company that we used there, but this company that my buddy was working for at the time, I said, hey, is there any way? I'm calling him, leaving my performance center where all the champions were at. That's where DDPYoga Performance Center is. And we're driving back. This is a year ago, right around now. And we're driving back to my house. And I'm like, is there any way your guys might do pro bono for a guy? This guy's had a hell of a story, and, he would be really great for you guys to do. He goes, well, the guys I was working with, they don't really do that unless it's celebrity type people. He said, but there's a new company I'm talking to. He goes, let me ask them. I was like, all right. So I literally hang up with him. My wife and I walk through the door, and there's a package that came to DDPYoga Performance Center. And she opens it, and when she opens it, it's a box. There's a screen, and on the screen, it's this veteran. And he's talking to this woman, and they're talking about what amazing work he's doing, helping veterans who are homeless get off the streets and get back into life. And they, because of his work, wanted to give him $50,000 worth of dental work and do these teeth in a day for him. Same thing, another company. And I'm like, what is this?
Just happened.
I mean, just happened.
Yeah.
And as I see, there's a hat that says Smile Boss and something like that. And Paige goes, wait till you hear this. And she reads this letter. Dear Dallas, we've been watching what you've been doing, helping all these people. We've been watching your videos. We love what you're doing. We're trying to help people too. We love what you're doing. We want to give you $50,000 worth of teeth in a day to one of your people you think deserves it. I literally
Just talking about it, thinking about it, calling about it.
remember I was talking about envision it,
Yeah.
right? Like crazy sometimes, right? So I call back
It
Jared
shows up in your doorstep.
right there.
That's crazy.
So I called Jared up and I said, Jared, listen, bro, I don't want to be like, tell you I want to do one thing and then I do another.
But I don't need any more.
but I got to tell you what just happened. So he says, what's the name of the company? I said, Nuvia. He said, that's who I might be going to work for. I'm going to hang up and I'm going to FaceTime you in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He FaceTimes me with the CEO
Uh-huh.
and the head of CMO,
Yeah.
head of marketing. And I tell them that story. They said, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just do it. So I got to go back and give that to this guy, right? Now, Scotty, I don't know it because he never opens his mouth, more than here. And he's got the beard and all that at the time. I don't know. He's in the same position. So the day before I go out there, it took 6 months to get Ken to where he finally got to where he could do the teeth and everything because he had some blood thing he had to take care of. And so now Ken's out there, and this is his last April. All right, this is WrestleMania. I'm out in LA. I do a bunch of stuff I got to do there. I went and done a speaking gig right before that in Ohio. Go to LA. Now I just want to go home. I've been on the road for 8 days. Steve calls me up and he goes, they're doing Ken's teeth. You got to come to Salt Lake City on the way home.
You got to go see the fresh tooth.
So I show up there, and then I say to the guy, I got this buddy of mine.
Yeah.
He's not ready. He ain't shown the difference, the change. But if he puts the work in, I've got your next guy.
Yeah.
We just had his teeth put in the other day.
Amazing.
Like crazy, man.
I mean, it's amazing how having a community of people to help motivate you can really change your life.
It is. We are the people we hang out most with.
Yeah.
And that's what parents are constantly trying to tell their kids. No, we don't want you hanging out with those bad people. And then they take it personal. But if they explained it, like, chew your food. Well, the reason why you want to chew your food, because the hardest thing you do is digest food. Like, well, okay, that's a different subject than just chew your food, like telling me what to do. Like, don't hang out with that kid because he's bad news. No, I'm going to do what I want to do, as opposed to saying, you hang out with these 5 people, you will become one of these people. And those are the people. Do you want to be that person? If they explained it like that, it might be heard a little bit better.
I think it's a role, because I have a young child. I think it's a role as parents to be models for your kids.
Sure.
So if you are hanging out, if you as a parent are hanging around with quality people around you, your kid will learn, all right, I need to have quality people around me.
Right.
You can tell them, don't chew your food or chew your food properly all you want. But if you're not chewing your food, they're never going to do it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, kids model what their parents do.
Sure.
Regardless of what you teach them and how much you yell till you're blue in the face, they will do what you do.
Right.
So maybe that's really what it is. Don't tell your kid to chew properly. Chew properly.
Right.
Sometimes it's so easy.
And make it a game.
Yeah.
But that stuff I never understood, back when my grandmother was going, chew your food. Like, chomp, chomp, swallow. I want to get out of here,
I got things to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which is harder now because, we were just away out of town for a little bit. And every time we travel, especially if we go out, because we have a young daughter and we're out at a restaurant, all the kids are doing this.
Right.
All day long.
Right.
It's so hard to break them out of the mold of having your kids just stare at their phone all the damn time. you know? But it's important. You have to have a conversation. You have to get to know your family. You have to get to know your father, you know? And I don't know who to blame for that because it's right in front of them.
Those things are addictive.
They're dangerous.
The other day, I was just walking, I don't know, airport or something, and I saw two people that had to be in their 70s doing the same thing that a kid would do when who's 7.
Everyone's addicted.
It's crazy. There's something about it that, you know, is...
But we say that, and then here we are putting up a video podcast.
Yeah,
people are watching on their phone.
But it's not even a phone. It's so many things. That's the thing. It's a TV. It's
everything.
It's the encyclopedia. It's everything.
Yeah.
So because it's everything, if it was just a phone, it wouldn't be that big a deal.
Yeah.
But it's not. And that's why we're so addicted to it. Like as a businessman, I mean, I don't really have to go. I don't have to go anywhere normally. I came over to see you because you're freaking 30
Not too
minutes.
far.
Well, you're 30 minutes from me on the way here.
Maybe 2 hours
on the way
back.
But you were worth it, bro. You were worth it. It was worth it to come here.
Hey, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up here. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you sharing your stories. We're going to link all the things we talked about in the description below. And if you've made it this far, we're going to see if we can get Dallas onto the stream. A lot of people that maybe just listen to the podcast or maybe new, we also stream live on Rumble from time to time. And we're going to invite you onto the stream because that will give an opportunity to maybe answer some questions to people who listened and engage with the audience a little bit. So we'll set that up. We'll make announcements on it. We'll be on Twitter or on Rumble or in the description here. I don't know yet, but we'll put it out there.
But wait a minute. I want to say something here. I want to call you and Will out because one of the things that Marlon wanted, I wanted you to come work with me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to invite the both of you after, we'll do it probably after the holidays or whatever, but to come over and experience DDPY with me and experience the Power Cuffs so you really get to see what this is about. And then we'll do something again later on or something down the line.
That sounds like a plan. Will, we down?
That would be an honor.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
That'd be so cool. I like to record in my studio because, and I tell people when they come here, it's like my world.
But it's also super sweet too.
Well, thank you. I mean, you've been on a lot of podcasts.
I have.
And if you say it's cool, then I take your word for it. That's awesome.
No, I do. You're very professional. You got it. It's a really cool setup. I felt like I'm being pulled into the vortex all the whole day there.
The whole thing is to dull all your senses around you so that it's literally just me and you, and that's it.
Yeah,
and I think people open up a little bit more, tell more honest stories. And you kind of you fall off of maybe whatever talking points you may have had coming in. And I think that's the point of blocking everything out in the world.
So I think it's great. It was a great conversation, and I appreciate you having me in. And you, Marlon, you're one of his favorite cats.
Oh, really?
Man. Yeah.
Well, Marlon, thank you, buddy. And Diamond Dallas Page, thank you for coming on the pod. Appreciate you, brother. And we'll do something again soon. Everyone, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Love you guys.
See ya. Bye.
Amazing. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you. You're really good.